Yep, those temperatures have been a dipping this week. The rain has moved through, the cold front behind it. Temperature 62 degrees, a little bit of a breeze now and then. Humidity is starting to drop. And it's a fun night to be at the ballpark on this final weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the final 3 regular season games for the Reds and the Buccos. And Chris, for the Reds tonight, one change, major change, will be on the bench. And the Reds today announcing that all of the current members of the coaching staff, with the exception of one, will be back for next year. That one is Dick Pohl, the pitching coach, who was not offered a contract for next year.
I think that was a surprise to a lot of people around the ballpark, George. It caught everybody by surprise. You know, normally after a team has a losing season, they will end up having maybe 1 or 2 coaching change moves. But this one right now with Dick Pohl gone, and he will soon be replaced by somebody else. I'm not even sure who's on the list of candidates yet. But right now it'll be Porky Lopez, who's normally the bullpen coach, will be in the dugout the last series for the Reds, taking over the pitching coaching job. And we wish Dick Pohl the best as he goes down the road in his baseball endeavors. You know, interestingly, because Dusty Baker and Dick Pohl have been together so long, you would think that Dusty Baker brought Dick Pohl in with him, but it was actually a hire by Jerry Narron. That Dick Pohl was here a year before that Dusty Baker came in. So good luck to Dick as he moves on down the road.
I'll tell you one thing, there's no doubt that so many of the young pitchers did make major strides under Dick Pohl. He's a hard-nosed guy, a no-nonsense guy, and somewhat like Dallas Green. Remember when Dallas Green managed the Mets and they said, well, he's too tough on us, and they ended up realizing after he left that he made a lot of those players better. And in Dick Pohl's case, he'll make you tough. He'll make you ready to be a man and ready to be a major leaguer.
Oh, you're exactly right. You know, he has that kind of a gruff attitude, and but he's a gentle guy inside, and he knows a lot of baseball, and he certainly knows a lot of pitching, and I'm sure he'll land on his feet, and wherever he wants to do in baseball, I'm sure it's out there still for him.
Gave a lot of himself to this Reds organization. We wish Dick the best. More to talk about on that one as the night progresses, but here is your Buccos starting lineup, sponsored by U.S. Bank. Andrew McCutchen, who's had an outstanding rookie year in the leadoff spot. Andy LaRoche will bat number 2. Garrett Jones this year against the Reds at .316. 3 homers and a stolen base as well for the season. Garrett Jones, 21 home runs. Ryan Domit, the catcher, will be batting in the number 4 spot, the switch hitter. Lastings Millage, Brandon Moss, Delwin Young, Ramon Vasquez will get the start at short. And Daniel McCutchen, the young pitcher, bats in the 9th spot. And here's a guy who's really had about a season and a half worth of work in the last 12 months. We're talking about Justin Lear, who, when you combine what he did in the offseason to what he did during the regular season, he's had over 40 starts this year.
Well, he's had 10 starts here with the Reds, and if you calculate all those pitchers in the National League that have had at least 10 starts, you'll see Justin Lear atop the leaderboard. Atop the leaderboard in those games in which this team scores him the most runs. He's got a run support average of over 7 runs a ball game. That has helped him win some ball games that he's pitched only 5 innings in, like his last time out. And also he's 2-0 against the Pirates, or 2-0 here at home at Great American Ballpark, where runs seem to be scored more often than elsewhere. So good luck to Justin Lear tonight. He's a guy that's not overpowering, going to have to use his breaking ball, change speeds, use that little splitter of his when he gets ahead of the hitters. And if he's on his game, the infield will do their work tonight.
John Russell, the manager of this Pirates team, he's got 1 goal this weekend left, and that's to avoid 100 losses. They come in with 97 losses on the season. If the Reds were to sweep this series, they'd end up with an even 100 losses in the 2009 year. Here's Andrew McCutchen, one of those who's gotten the chance to play thanks to the 7 different moves that were made by this organization in the last 3 months that have ended up giving a lot of young players the chance to play in this 2009 season. 1 ball and 1 strike to McCutchen from Lear. Center fielder, 5'11", 175, native of Florida. Made his debut in June of this year. We saw a lot of him in spring training. Both he and Nyjer Morgan looked great in spring training. You wondered which one would win the center field job, and would they both be coming north? Well, as it turned out, Nyjer Morgan won the job. McCutchen had a great year down at AAA, and once they traded Nyjer Morgan, they moved him up to the major league level. And Chris, he's not going to win Rookie of the Year, but he's had a year that will qualify him as one of the 4 or 5 top rookies in the league.
He's a good-looking player. There's no question about that. He's got a good on-base percentage, and of course, you need to have the top of the lineup. He'll take a walk. That is walk number 19 for him. An on-base percentage up around 360. So the speedy McCutchen, 18 stolen bases, is on base. That's give you something to think about when you're out there as a pitcher. You don't want to have that speedster on base. That's what Lear has to worry about right now.
Speaking of changes, when the year started, Andy LaRoche was at third. Adam LaRoche's brother was over at first. Adam traded to Boston, then from Boston traded to Atlanta Braves, and that's where he is right now. Andy still at third base, and LaRoche in the number 2 spot tonight. He's in at 258, 12 homers and 61 knocked in on the season. His average bouncing back after 9 hits in his last 19 at bats. Monday against the Dodgers was 5 for 5 with a couple of homers and 6 knocked in. That's the way you want to finish your season, strong at the end of September. And he's fighting for a job. I mean, there have been some rumblings that very possibly he might end up moving to second base when next spring training opens up. There goes the runner. Here comes the throw. Won't be nearly in time. Make it 19 stolen bases for McCutchen.
Now, that one was stolen on the pitcher, no doubt about it, as most of them are. You know, they do keep a catcher statistic as to how many runners that a catcher will throw out, but that is so heavily weighed in by how good your pitching staff is in keeping runners close. That time, Justin Lear really didn't give Craig Tatum much of a shot.
Tatum doing the catching for Lear, so the double play possibility erased. That delivery down low, and after walking the first batter, he's now 3-0 to the second batter. And I'm sure Porky Lopez is sitting down there saying, wait a minute,
this isn't the way I drew it up.
That's a strike.
Well, the one thing you cannot do in this ballpark is pitch away from contact. And, you know, this time of year when the cool weather is in, the balls don't travel nearly as far, so it plays fairer now probably than it does in the heat of August or July. But still in all, if you're Justin Lear, your margin of error because you don't throw hard isn't all that great. You have to be really precise and on the corners.
That's going to be up high and back-to-back walks, so that'll send Tatum out to say a few words to Lear, and that'll bring Garrett Jones to the plate. Here's your Ford defensive alignment for the Buccos and the Reds. For the Reds tonight, Vladimir Valentin will be in left, Drew Stubbs in center, Jay Bruce is over in right, Roland, Yanish, Phillips, and Votto across the infield, and Tatum will catch Lear for tonight. That's your Ford defensive alignment for Cincinnati against the Buccos. So back-to-back walks. And here comes Garrett Jones. Oh, what a year he's had. The numbers tell a story. He didn't get his first home run until the month of July, and now has 21 as we end the final week of the season. Team leading 21st home run came on Monday. 16 solo home runs, and just about half of his home runs hit at home and half on the road. Guy who came up in the Minnesota organization looking for a chance, and you never know. Of course, John Russell, the manager of the Pirates, was a manager in the minor leagues for the Minnesota Twins at Double-A in the Eastern League, and that was the first time he had a chance to get a look at this young man. And not necessarily a young prospect at 28 years of age when he came to the major leagues this year. But John Russell figured that he could be a guy that could help this club down the stretch, and Chris, he's sure put in a vote for himself for next year.
Well, he certainly got the attention of the Reds. He's driven in 10 runs against the Reds this year. That's the most of anybody who's driven in against this Reds team. Good quick bat on a fastball. That's why Lear's staying with the breaking ball. And he's really combined. After he's thrown a first pitch fastball, he's used a splitter, a curveball, and then another splitter, just trying to get Garrett Jones to get out in front and top that ball, maybe hit into a double play right here.
Ripped, and a foul ball towards the right field corner.
Yeah, really what you have in the Reds rotation right now. I mean, Justin Lear's making this start probably in place of Matt Maloney, a guy that is still bothered with a blister, and he won't pitch again this year. But, you know, you have two very hard throwers in the rotation with Homer Bailey and John Cueto, and then you have two pitchers in it with Bronson Arroyo, who spins up that pitch that, a lot of hitters will call a frisbee, that changeup, slider, curveball, combination, all thereof, and Justin Lear. These guys really have to pitch. They change speeds nicely, they move the ball in and out, and control is their calling card. And if Lear is not where he wants to be in the strike zone, it can be a tough night.
The rest of the rotation for the weekend tomorrow: Johnny Cueto against Zach Duke, the lefty, on the air with Reds Live at 6:30. There's a liner into right. Here comes Bruce. Got it. And the runners will retreat to their bases. Hit pretty good by Garrett Jones, but right at Bruce. And on Sunday, the final game of the regular season, Homer Bailey will go for the Reds. The Pirates, as yet, have not announced who will start for them. We'll be on the air with the Reds Live at 12:30. So 108, now a double play can get Lear out of trouble. And here's Ryan Domet, the catcher, the switch hitter, in at 254. 10 homers, 38 knocked in. When the week started, it looked like the Pirates were steamrolling to 100 losses, but they ended up taking 3 of 4 from the Dodgers, and then took 2 games against the Chicago Cubs of the 3 that they did play. Yesterday's game was rained out. They got into town late last night. So whereas a week ago it looked almost assuredly that they'd have 100 losses, their push at the end of this season has allowed them to possibly avert a 100-loss season.
Well, they were playing such terrible baseball when the Reds went through town. Of course, that was the beginning of the G20 summit, and the Pirates were in the middle of a horrible losing streak. But since that time, they've won 5 of 7, including 3 of 4 from the Cardinals. So that's something to brag about right there. So, like both these managers, John Russell and Dusty Baker, you want your ball club, even though you're at the bottom end of the standings, you still want your club to finish strong. You want to teach these young players, especially, the importance of playing professionally every inning that you're out there.
Ball, 1 strike in the dirt. The runners will hold.
And for the Pirates, it's tough. It's probably tougher for their fans than anybody else, because they have had now 17 consecutive losing seasons. They blew the team apart earlier in the year before the trading deadline, trading away guys like Adam LaRoche and Sanchez and others. Nate McLouth to start it all off when he went down to Atlanta. And they got a lot of young talent in return, and they're asking their fans to be a little bit patient.
They've had to be a lot patient in 17 years, and the 17-year streak isn't the only one active. The Reds have beaten the Buccos 8 straight times coming into tonight. And from Dusty's standpoint, he'd love to make that 11. Here are the men who are on that Exodus list: Tom Gorzolani, Eric Hinsky, Adam LaRoche, we talked about, Nate McLouth, the first to go to Atlanta, Niger Morgan to Washington, Freddie Sanchez, Ian Snell, and Jack Wilson. So pretty good players. That's just this year. That's a liner. It is a foul ball. And the Pirates have said, Neil Huntington has said, well, we feel that the players we got in return in 2 to 3 years will give us a better chance to win on an ongoing basis. It's John Russell's job to try to make that happen with the players that he does have.
Well, they started the year with a payroll of less than $30 million. And it's likely will go up, even with some of the internal raises that you have. You've got some guys that are eligible for salary arbitration. Other guys will get raises. But they're bringing nearly the entire coaching staff back. They've already said that Joe Kerrigan will be back. In fact, they've got 1 spot open. Rich Donnelly will not be back next year. But they're going to fill that not with a bench coach, but with another pitching coach. So, if you're a Pirate fan, you're wondering, all right, we've seen it happen time and time again. You start from scratch, you put some Band-Aids on it, you try to get the team better, you sign a free agent. Doubtful that they will be real active in the free agent market, but, the payroll probably will be a little bit bigger next year. And they hope that this young talent they got will pan out.
3-2 runners going with 1 out. It's fouled off. We'll try it again, 3-2. What aggravates so many Pirate fans is that the bottom line in this era of revenue sharing is that the Pirates will take home about $30 million in revenue sharing. So what Pirate fans say is the money that they've gotten is not going back into the club. It's going back into making the team profitable, and that's what they've had to battle at home.
You know, it's interesting because I just read the other day an article in the Pittsburgh Gazette, their paper, with an interview with Bud Selig about that exact that theory. That'll end the inning.
How about that? Well, that's both the possibility and the difficulty of sending the runners. A line drive with 1 out turns into a double play, and the Reds are out of the inning. The U.S. Bank starting lineup for Dusty Baker and the Reds as we go to the bottom of the first. Drew Stubbs will lead it off. Paul Janisch bats in the number 2 spot. Joey Votto hits third. Then Brandon Phillips will hit behind him in the cleanup spot. Scott Rowland, Jay Bruce, Vladimir Valentin, Craig Tatum, and Justin Lear. We told you about Rowland's great numbers against the Pirates. We were in Pittsburgh last week. He's had more success against Pittsburgh than any other National League team throughout his career, and he's in the number 5 spot tonight. And here is the other McCutchen. This is Daniel McCutchen.
Well, they've got strong. They got McCutchen up the middle with Andrew in center field and Daniel on the mound tonight. 27-year-old right-hander. His contract was selected from the AAA Indianapolis team on the end of August. He's 0-2 on the season, although he pitched a very good game his last time out. I told you that the Pirates beat the Cardinals 3 out of 4 games. They actually beat the Dodgers 3 out of 4 games, and then they went and took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs at Wrigley. And he pitched one of those very good games against the Dodgers, although he did not get a decision in that ball game. 6 innings of 2-run baseball.
So McCutchen's ready to go to work against Drew Stubbs, who's in at 260, 8 homers, 17 knocked in. A high fly ball into right. Moseying under it and squeezing it, the right fielder Moss, and there's 1 away. There's your 4 defensive alignment for the Buccos. Millage, McCutchen, and Moss in the outfield. Good speed there. Andy LaRoche is at third. Ramon Vasquez, utility infielder, getting a start at short. He's been bothered by a gimpy knee. Delwyn Young at second and Garrett Jones down at first. And Domit, who's the veteran of that lineup, is behind the plate. So Ryan's behind the plate, and here's Paul Janisch. Janisch steps in at 215, a homer and 15 knocked in. Now, since Alex Gonzalez was traded to Boston, and boy, what a boost he's given the Red Sox offensively and defensively. He's played flawless defense and hit nearly 290 as a Red Soxer. Janisch has started in 40 of the last 46 games at short since Gonzalez left. And Chris, when you add it all up, I think he's reaffirmed what everybody knew, that his glove is brilliant. And the question heading into 2010 remains, does he have enough offense to be a starting shortstop in the league?
Well, you know, when Alex Gonzalez was here with the Reds, that same question was bandied around because he was hitting about the same that Paul Janisch is hitting. Gonzalez, as you said, on fire now with the Red Sox, but he was not on fire here with the Reds. That trade made everybody look good because it gave Janisch a chance to play, Gonzalez a chance to help a contender. And I think that Giannis will be better next year, although he hasn't gotten a lot better in his statistical at-bats between the time that Gonzalez has left and now. He seems more comfortable at the plate. I'm not saying he's ever going to be a 300 hitter, but I think that unless you find a real good, cheap shortstop on the market that's going to hit a lot better, Giannis is probably your man.
You know one thing, if you put him out there, he'll play outstanding defense. And one thing we've seen, if you go back at 12 months from today and look at the way he was last year, he's improved offensively. He's still solid defensively, and you expect him to get maybe a little stronger, a little better next year. So the Reds and Walt Jocketty and company will have a lot of decisions to make. One of them will revolve around that shortstop position. Here's Joey. No decisions to make here. He's ending strong. Votto at 317, 24 homers, and 81 knocked in. Set the franchise record for doubles in a month with his 16th double for the month of September. He was a doubles machine. And his average after a 220 month of August, where he dipped under 300 for the first time to 296, is now rocketed back up in the last 12 games, hitting over 400 at 457. Some guys limp to the end, Chris. He's roaring to the end.
Well, he's had some time off during the summer, George, and by his own admission, off the field stuff really bothered him.
That's a line to right. Moss will gather it in, and
he was
Joey will be
too.
out. He was.
The guy can flat out hit. I mean, there's just no question about that. You could sense that the first time we saw him in spring training a couple of years ago. But when he's really focused and when he's really ready to hit, this guy is one of the toughest outs in the National League. There's no question about it. And I've gone on record as saying, George, I think you probably agree that what we've seen here with Joey Votto, who's had a pretty good year offensively, this may be his worst year, except in a year in which he's going to be injured, because he's had a lot of distractions. He's dealt with a lot of stuff, and he's still come out very strong and hitting well over 300.
His work ethic, his approach is so solid. Here's Brandon, fouls it off the mask of Domit for strike one. Here's one that'll jar your head a little bit. Ooh.
Well, he had a pitch there to drive, too. That's one of those pitches that Brandon Phillips is looking for on the first pitch of an at-bat with a man on base. 5 away from 100 runs batted in. He could have a big night, a couple nights in a row, and get to that number.
Kind of hit a plateau. He had a great, when we were in Pittsburgh, he went from 88 to 92 runs batted in, got up to 95, and is stalled there for the better part of the last week.
Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of guys on.
Well, when you got Votto hitting in front of you, he doesn't leave many, does he?
And exactly. When you've got the guy who is the player of the week hitting in front of you, who's leading the world in doubles, I mean, he's cleaning up the base paths for you.
That's right.
So the good news is the team is scoring runs. The bad news is you're not getting the RBI.
No balls, 1 strike to Brandon. Now Joey had bluffed going to second, and they'll all of a sudden realize he's over there and toss back to first and hold him.
Well, he's quickly gaining the reputation of being one of the better base runners on this Reds ball club. Not the speediest by far, but from first to third and from second to home, he's one of the best because he really works at it.
No balls, 1 strike. We just left Houston, and he reminds me a lot at the similar stage of his career of Jeff Bagwell. Bagwell was never the fastest runner on his ball club that had some real speed burners, but he was always a smart base runner and would steal a base because you just forget about him. And Joey has the potential to do that throughout his career.
He must know when Daniel McCutcheon's coming over, because he'll take a lead and then he'll shorten his lead by a full stride, and then McCutcheon throws to first base.
He wasn't more than a step off the bag that time.
I think that Votto's got the signs coming out of that Pirate dugout.
He just knows Joe Kerrigan. That's down low. Joe will throw over there a lot. All the pitches and throwovers called by Joe Kerrigan on the bench, the pitching coach for this Bucco team. He waves at that. Phillips retired, still with the Reds, even with the hit from Joey Votto. For the second we go, Millage will lead it off. Phillips back to second. About Brandon Phillips, you put the whole package together. Won a Gold Glove last year. Will he win one this year? Look at his offensive numbers: 277, already a 20 homer guy and a 25 stolen base guy. What he loves is 100 runs batted in, becoming more and more difficult to get to that number as we head into the final 3 games of the season. Our storyline's brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. And Chris, when you look at a franchise that's had so many outstanding, tremendous second baseman, of course Joe Morgan at the top of that list, but men that have played the game the right way, played the game hard, some more offensive than defensive, some more defensive than offensive. He's had one of the best complete seasons for a Reds second baseman.
Well, in my opinion, he's the Reds MVP for this year. I mean, he's the only position out there at second base that the Reds have not put on the disabled list, and he did play through some injuries that other guys may go on the DL about. So he's an everyday player. He plays hard. He's in the number 4 slot and in a lineup for a long time where he was one of the only threats. When Votto was out of the lineup, you know, they would pitch around Brandon Phillips and really not give him much of anything to hit because there were no other threats in the lineup to really worry about.
Lastings Millage laces this one into right center. He'll take a big turn, but Stubbs there to get it in quickly, and there's the first hit for the Buccos, a leadoff single here in the second.
And I know that it's hard to say this about a Golden Glove second baseman, a guy that won it last year, but I think he's improved on his defense this year over last year. In fact, I think he's gotten much better in turning a double play, Brandon Phillips. He's used a lot of different methods of turning that double play, and I think he's much more comfortable now at second base than he ever has been before.
All part of the maturation process. Here's Brandon Moss at 237, 7 homers and 41 knocked in on the season. Moss has had an up and down kind of year that's also been reflected in his playing time. Started off the year miserably and was benched, hit only .203 in April. Came back in May and had his best month of the year. Had a couple of key hits against the Reds in May and hit .305 in May. And then in June 185, in July 218, and in August 211. So it's Fisher cut bait time, Chris, for Brandon Moss as you look at 2010.
Well, you know what? I think that's that same case for a number of those players that are like that on the Padres or on the Pirates. Andy LaRoche, you mentioned earlier. I think Brandon Moss falls in that same category. There will be lots of competition for this young man when he shows up in spring training. You know, when you get a shot, sometimes you're ready for it, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're able to take advantage of it. Sometimes you realize it and you press so much that you really are not the comfortable player that you've shown to be. I mean, there was one time that Brandon Moss was a very, very good prospect.
No balls, 2 strikes. He came over from the Red Sox, and when he was with Boston, our good friend Sean Casey was there, and Casey had nothing but great things to say about number 44, and saying all he really needs is the chance to play every day, and he's going to be there. And Casey still believes that he will be a fine major league hitter. He just has not been able to get to the point of getting in a groove. No balls, 2 strikes. Fouled off. The good news is, Chris, when you're on a team that loses 90 games, you're going to get a chance to play. You may not get that opportunity again. So it's this year and next year that many of these players will get the opportunity to show they belong. And then as you start to get better, all of a sudden things change dramatically. You've got to produce, not just put games in.
Well, if you hit 203 in Boston in the month of April, you'll find yourself in Pawtucket the rest of the season.
Which is what happened to Brandon Moss. 0-2, check swing, fouled off.
You know, and you can kind of watch him in the batter's box right now. Justin Lear is far from overpowering, but it looks like Moss is having a hard time recognizing pitches. I mean, even in a mode now where he should be shortening up, trying to make contact, keep inside the ball, do all the things those hitting coaches want you to do, he still is a guy that's lunging badly. I don't think he's got confidence in his bat speed to catch up with a fastball.
No balls, 2 strikes. And you talk about recognizing pitches. When I was up in Cooperstown this past summer talking about Brandon Phillips with Eddie Murray, his former hitting coach when he was in Cleveland, and Eddie said, you know, when I had him, said he could never recognize pitches because he didn't look for the ball out of the pitcher's hands. He waited to see it halfway between the mound and home plate. Too late then. But sometimes it's confidence, sometimes it's maturity. Sometimes hitters never get to that point. The good hitters sure have great hand-eye coordination, but the ability to recognize when the ball leaves the hand is so critical. It's that extra split second that you have to make yourself react to a pitch.
Well, that split second is exactly 1/5 of a second. And it could be as easy, or it could be as easy as seeing the pitcher have a little bit higher release point on his breaking ball than his fastball, or showing his wrist a little bit more on a certain pitch, flying open a little bit more. All those things can tell you, but the good hitters have that innate ability and the good eyesight to be able to pick it up immediately.
Swing and a miss. The throw won't be in time. It'll be a stolen base for Millage. So Millage gets the stolen base. Moss is retired. That's the 7th stolen base for Lasting Millage. And there's a runner at second with 1 out, and here comes Delwyn Young.
Well, you know you got a speedy guy in Millage on base. So if you're Justin Lear, you're thinking, all right, I'd like to throw a fastball right here, but Moss is a pretty good fastball hitter. I think I can get him out with a breaking ball, but that won't give my catcher much of a chance to throw the runner out. And that's what happened. Threw a nice slow curveball in there. Again, Craig Tatum, not much of a shot to throw out the runner.
So 2 stolen bases, each of them have been on the pitcher Lear. Tatum not much of a chance to throw out either one. Here's Delwyn at 265, 6 homers and 40 knocked in on the season. Home plate umpire Lance Barksdale tonight here at Great American Ballpark for this 3-game series. It's an umpiring crew that also has Marvin Hudson at first, DJ Rayburn at second, and Kentucky's own Randy Marsh, the crew chief, down at third. Good to see Randy again. He knows you won't have a long drive after Sunday's game. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Great to have you with us all weekend long. Just to let you know, we'll be sitting down this weekend with Dusty Baker, the Reds manager, reflect on 2009, look ahead to 2010, and what has become an annual encounter. We'll do it again with Joey Votto and Jay Bruce. 3 years in a row we've sat down to assess where they are, where the team is, and this has been a growing year for Joey and for the right fielder Jay Bruce too. A year that it'll be interesting to see how they evaluate it and how they look ahead to 2010. Good to see Jay swinging the bat again, huh?
You know what? I think that helps both of them very much. They're such close friends that they're like Ike and Mike. I mean, you know, when Votto was out of the lineup, Jay Bruce looked like a lost young puppy. And he kind of got tail spinning into a slump. He went up there and did some of the things he did last year, being over anxious at the plate, and you know, didn't have Votto around to temper him a little bit. I'm not saying that they need each other to be successful, but they certainly are better when they're together, and they're forged a very close friendship.
Bounce down to third. It is a foul ball. And the other part of that equation is that guy right there, who's made everybody a little more introspective and a little more cognizant of what it takes to be a professional and be a winner. That's Scott Rowland.
There are a lot of people against that trade. Even in the organization, it was kind of a controversial trade when it first happened with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Reds gave up some pretty good young arms in that, but the difference that he has made from an attitude standpoint, for those of us who follow the ball club on a daily basis, just cannot be denied. He has changed things around.
Rowland calls off Tatum. There's your second out of the inning on the pop-up from Young, and here comes Ramon Vasquez, the shortstop. Also, by the way, a little bit later on tonight, we'll sit down with Mark Frost, who's written a great book on Game 6 of the 1975 World Series, one of the greatest games in any sport, and certainly from a Red standpoint, one of the greatest games in franchise history. It's a great book.
I guess if there's any one game that you could write a complete book about, that would have to be the one.
I mean, there has been a lot written about it, but every time you look at it from a different angle, it gets more interesting. It doesn't get boring. It gets more interesting, and just an amazing night of baseball and an amazing World Series. And I think Sparky said it about as well as anybody after the series was over. Said this was not good for the Reds, it was good for baseball. And he was right. It really was an important linchpin for the growth of baseball during the 70s. 75 World Series championship for the Reds over the Red Sox. Even though in Boston they're still saying the Red Sox won the series 3-4. Pudge always says that. I know Christian Roberts does too, doesn't he?
He's got it in his blood.
Our producer grew up in New Hampshire, same place as Pudge Fisk grew up. What a tremendous series. 2 balls, 1 strike to Ramon. Vasquez, very valuable utility infielder, has been bothered by a bad knee, trying to fight through it for the final week. There's a debate as to whether or not he might need surgery when the season is over. Certainly he'll need rest to be 100% at the very least, and he may require surgery. Very serviceable middle infielder, a good leader on a ball club, and that's the other part of the equation that the Pirates, like the Reds, have been looking for. Leadership for some of the young players. Swing and a miss. Good bounce back by Lear. Leadoff base hit. Nothing to show for it. 2 strikeouts for Justin. Reds go back to work. To the bottom of 2. Rowland will lead it off. Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, and fun. That's JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep, the Jeep clearance is here. Get to your Jeep dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. Here's Scott Rowland to lead it off. In at 276, couple of homers and 21 knocked in as a Cincinnati Red. Great to have you with us, George Grant, Chris Welsh. Hope you enjoyed our Reds live pregame. Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro, they'll be by for Reds live postgame, and of course be here all weekend long to put a capper on this 2009 season for you. You add up both Toronto and Cincinnati, Scott's average is .308 with 10 homers and 64 knocked in. He had a great year for the Blue Jays. First time, Chris, in really 3 years that his back and his shoulder have been healthy, and boy, you can see the difference.
You know what? That's the big thing for Scott Rowland. He's had chronic back problems for a while, and you just hope that you're getting him at a time, maybe getting him out of Toronto and off that turf up there will help him play every day on a much softer surface here in Cincinnati and keep his back healthy.
Time for our Geico quote of the day. It comes from Reds outfielder Chris Dickerson, who is back after being on the disabled list for a second time. Dickerson, happy to be back, looking forward to 2010.
Nothing changes really. It's unfortunate that I had the setbacks that I did this year. I think I'd be in a lot better position for next year, but you know, I think it's just a tribute to the depth that we have and the guys that have stepped up this year. Lance had a great season under the circumstances, and especially Johnny Gomes, coming off the bench and starting in AAA and having the year that he did. So I think really, my hats are off to those guys for stepping up. Everybody played a key role. We struggled sometimes, but those guys had a lot of big hits.
Our Geico quote of the day from Chris Dickerson. Here's Jay Bruce. Bruce spent time on the DL too since coming back. .316 in 15 games and 4 home runs. Chris, if you're put you in the general manager's chair, where does Chris Dickerson fit coming to spring training next year?
Well, he comes in as one of these guys that I got to figure is going to be one of my players. Now, whether he's an everyday player or not, I can't answer that. But I would think that I would bring back Johnny Gomes, certainly. And I would bring back Dickerson and give those two guys the inside slot in trying to nail down the left field spot. As it would stand right now, my center fielder every day would be Drew Stubbs' job to lose. I would have obviously Willie Taveras still around because he's being paid next year. He's on a 2-year deal, and obviously I think that Jay Bruce would have the inside track in having a shot at keeping that right field job. I mean, I want competition. But at the same time, you have to have some front runners when the spring starts.
Full count to Jay. He's happy to get some swings back, and he will go to winter ball playing the Dominican Republic with Rick Sweet, the Reds AAA manager, headlining a host of Reds players who will head to the Dominican. There's a walk. 1 out, 1 on. Second base runner for the Reds following a Votto single in the first. Here comes Vladimir Ballantine. Now, where does Vladimir Ballantine fit into that mix?
He's in the mix. He has had an extended chance to show what he's got, and what he has shown is himself to have some pretty good power. I mean, he's batting around 265. He's got home run power. He hits the ball well the other way. What you have is a lot of those outfielders, Ballantine, Lance Nix, Dickerson, Gomes. Gomes I give a little bit more of a shot to, but, I don't know whether you call them tweeners or whether guys that you're still not sure yet exactly where they are. The more you see him play, the more you can make that decision.
Well, one thing Johnny Gomes will bring you in addition to the home runs that he's brought the Reds this year is a little bit of personality, a little bit of verve to the clubhouse, and the kind of a guy that can help that leadership quotient. Everybody, you don't necessarily need one leader. You need 3 or 4 to do it in different ways, and Johnny adds something that the Reds were missing in this clubhouse. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Guy brings energy.
Yep.
Plus he can hit the ball a long way, and he's shown himself that if you give him enough at bats, that he's going to put up some pretty good numbers. I mean, people wondered where the offense was going to be after you allowed Ken Griffey Jr. and Adam Dunn to be traded away. And, you know, Dunn's 100 runs batted in and his 40 home runs and his on-base percentage, that's a big something that you have to fill. Gomes went quite a ways to fill that, although he didn't get anywhere near, you know, full-time playing position.
Right field, Moss there. Bruce will go halfway and retreat to first. So 2 away, and here comes the catcher, Craig Tatum.
It's not an easy job. I mean, and I don't think it's Walt Jocketty alone. I think it's Jerry Walker and Mike Squires and all the rest of those advisors that, you know, have watched this ball club play and watched them in spring training. They all got to get together along with Dusty Baker and his coaching staff to figure out, you know, what is the best mix for this team. And that goes with lefty, righty. Who can play what different positions, which guy can be used as a defensive replacement, who can run to be possible pinch runner. A lot of things go into making your team. Now, that said, if the Reds could turn around and find a hitter like Matt Holliday on the open market, I mean, you plug him in the left field and you make your team a lot better.
Now, the Cardinals got Matt Holliday for this year, and he'll be a free agent at the end of the year. And in talking to St. Louis people, it's very unlikely that they will be in the long-term bidding for Holliday unless he were to give them a hometown discount, which is very unlikely with his agent Scott Boras. And the other part of Holliday in a Cardinal situation is if you sign Matt Holliday to a big deal, in 2 years you've got Albert Pujols coming up. If you give him a big deal, there's no way you can afford both of them, and you can't let Pujols go.
No.
Hit hard, caught by Vasquez, a line drive out. The Reds strand their second runner. Going to the third. McCutchen will lead it off. NFL Sunday doubleheader beginning with the Seahawks heading to Indianapolis to take on Peyton Manning and the Colts, and Tony Romo and the Cowboys head to Denver to take on the Broncos. Coverage begins Sunday with America's #1 pregame show coming up at noon. Keep it rolling, keep it rolling. Here we go to the top of the third. The pitcher, Daniel McCutchen, will lead it off. Native of McKinney, Texas. That's big football country. He steps in. On the season, 1 hit and 10 at bats since joining the major league club. Stands in there, looks like a hitter, huh?
He does look like a hitter. That's half the bargain right there.
That's it. How about Chris Carpenter? Were you surprised at that one yesterday?
I think he was surprised at that one.
Talk about having a day.
What he usually has is his day on the mound, obviously. I mean, he's a big guy, 6 feet 6 inches tall, and a superb pitcher. But to hit a grand slam home run early in the ball game like that, put it on ice, pretty impressive.
Going to be a whale of a battle for the Cy Young Award in the National League, and certainly the two Cardinal pitchers, Adam Wainwright and Chris Carpenter, at the top of that list. And here's Lear. He'll walk his third batter in the first 2+ innings. Don't forget, when the Reds get it done with a run batted in this season, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. So the pitcher down at first. Here's the other McCutchen, Andrew McCutchen, who walked on a 3-1 pitch and stole a base in the first.
You know, what we've seen out of Justin Lear ever since that shutout that he threw against the Chicago Cubs, a tremendous game that he pitched, his first major league shutout complete game. You know, it looks like when he misses, he's missing up in the zone.
Warning track, wall, against the wall, round first, going to second will be McCutchen with a 2-base hit, and it'll be second and third.
And that's a perfect example of it right there. He missed with the previous pitch up in the zone, and he's just not, he just doesn't have enough strength in his arm, enough stamina in his legs, enough drive yet at this point in the season where he's thrown up over 240 innings, where he can finish those pitches and get those down around the knees. And when you get it up high, major league hitters are going to hit it, especially quality hitters like Andrew McCutchen.
So second and third, nobody out, and here comes Andy LaRoche.
McCutchen brothers leading the charge for the Pirates in this inning.
Brothers of heart. It's like the Hatcher brothers, Mickey Hatcher and Billy Hatcher.
There you go.
That's a strike. Andy, first time up, walked. Rip, passed, rolling into the left field corner. 1 run scores. McCutchen scampers around third. He'll score 2. Throw coming into second. A perfect throw, and they'll nail him. Ballantyne's throw was perfect, so it'll be a single, 2 runs batted in for LaRoche, and a perfect throw and an assist to Ballantine from left.
Good play by Vladimir Ballantine, the left fielder, getting over on this ball. A breaking ball hanging on the inner part of the plate right there. I would imagine that these Pirates this time through the lineup have seen Justin Lear, and they realize that he's not going to be able to stand him up with the fastball. He's going with a lot of off-speed stuff, and that's what they're waiting for. And LaRoche ripped that one down the line. But a good fielding play to the backhand, and then a one-hopper right to Brandon Phillips, who's able to get that tag on him. I like that play from both ends. I like the defense that the Reds have shown right there and getting that ball back in the infield, and also the aggressive base running of LaRoche, trying to stretch that ball that could have been an easy single, just stay right there, into a double. Keep the pressure on that opposition.
Here's Garrett Jones, line to right, first time up. So the Pirates take an early lead 2-0. This one slammed off his foot for a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. That battle for first place in the American League Central. The White Sox lead Detroit 1-0. Scott Podsednik has hit a leadoff home run for the White Sox in that one. The divisional title down to the final weekend between the Tigers and the Twins. The Twins have made it a race out of it going into the final weekend. 2 games separate the two. Left center field, Stubbs, good break, got it.
But here Garrett Jones has hit the ball hard in each of his first 2 at bats. I mean, laser missiles. One right to the right fielder that hit was picked off by Jay Bruce. That one right there on the run by the center fielder Drew Stubbs. You hit it that hard, you have nothing to show for it. Go on, hang with him.
Spoken as a true pitcher.
Yeah. He'll get his share of blues.
Did you ever get a Christmas card from Chris Daddy Wags? Hang with him, right? Hang with him. Sends that to all the hitters. This hit high in the air to center. It's going to stay in the park. Under it is Stubbs. Drew's got it. But the damage done. A leadoff walk. But it comes back to haunt. A double and a single. 2-0. The lead to the Pirates. For Godot. This beautiful new Toyota Tundra. The Reds player hits the Tundra or the Tundra sign during tonight's game. Larry Rodas of Hamilton, Ohio is going to win it. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. If you come to the ballpark early this weekend and walk around the ballpark, you may see Jesse Jackson out there underneath the Toyota. He's been trying to figure out a way to drive it off there all season. He's run out of time, Chris.
Is that his helicopter hovering around?
That's the one.
You just got to figure out how to get that baby unbolted.
Well, if you take that full moon out there and you hang a moon hook on it, maybe you could lift it off, huh? Here's the pitcher, Justin Lear, to lead it off. Then Drew Stubbs and Paul Janisch will follow. Great to have you with us. Coming up in a little while, we'll visit with our Make-A-Wish youngster of today. Great before the game to see a young Reds fan down on the field with Ryan Hannigan and Joey Votto. You'll get to meet Keegan tonight. Make-A-Wish Foundation, of course, a lot of good organizations, but the Make-A-Wish Foundation, of course, grants wishes for children of life-threatening medical conditions. And it's great to, whenever they come to the park, Chris, it enriches everyone who gets a chance to spend a little time with the young people and their families, too.
Well, the Reds do such good work in the community. That's just one of the things that happens every Friday. There's another family from the Make-A-Wish Foundation bringing their child along, sometimes as many more than one.
Hit pretty good to center. Back is McCutcheon, and in front of the warning track, he'll haul it in. Lear's retired. Many of you hockey fans will remember last year the Columbus Blue Jackets carved out their first ever playoff appearance. Now they look to take the next step towards putting their name in that big cup, the Stanley Cup. The Jackets battle the Canucks Monday at 10 on Fox Sports Ohio. Hope you join us Monday at 10 on Fox Sports Ohio. One away, and here comes Drew. Now, Chris, we talk about Game 6 of that '75 World Series, and as I watch This young man plays center field, and I was fortunate to watch Freddie Lynn when he was in college. It reminds me of the way he glides in the outfield of Freddie Lynn, going from left center to right center, trying to bunt his way on. It's foul.
He does. He does have the kind of the Freddie Lynn look, especially the way he runs. If he could turn out to be half the player that Freddie Lynn turned out to be, the Reds would have something. But I really think that they've got something here with Drew Stubbs. You know, they waited until he was able to play on an everyday basis before they brought him up, and it was injuries to everybody that caused that. I mean, we talked about Chris Dickerson earlier. We talked about Willie Taveras. Had those guys not been injured and injured severely enough to be put on the disabled list, you'd never even seen this guy in Cincinnati this year.
There's a rocket shot into the left field corner. He'll roll into second with his 5th two-base hit. So Drew's in scoring position with 1 out.
You know, he's a lot stronger than you give him credit for, and he's a lot faster than he appears. He's one of those guys who's just very deceptive because he does everything so smoothly. Nice smooth swing right there. Rocket shot down the left field line. An easy 2-bagger for the very fast-running Drew Stubbs.
Some guys have to run hard to be fast. Some guys run easy, and he's one of those that runs easy.
Where did he learn how to do that?
Mom and Dad blessed him with that. Yeah, the other similarity to Freddie Lynn, too. Freddie was originally recruited at USC as a wide receiver. John McKay wanted him to be a full-time football player. He opted to stick to baseball, and Drew Stubbs, same story. Outstanding football player. Unfortunately for the Reds, he stuck with baseball. He was recruited heavily as a high schooler to be a wide receiver. Went to Texas and became an outstanding All-American baseball player. There's Paul Yanish, grounded to short first time up. That's in there for a strike, 1-1. White Sox have added a run. They lead Detroit 2-0 now in the 4th inning. Twins hosting Kansas City, and that has not started as yet. Down to third, smothered by LaRoche, double pumps and gets the out.
You know what, that's a good thing that he did double pump right there, because if you only looking back, Drew Stubbs that is, and you decide to throw to first base, you better hope your first baseman has a good arm, because Stubbs had a notion to take that one fake and then come on to third base. Watch Stubbs right here in the center of your screen. He'll be looked back by LaRoche not once but twice as you roll it forward, and just to make sure that he's got no intention of trying to steal third base on the throw to first.
So 2 away, still sitting in scoring position is the Reds runner, and here comes Joey Votto, the Reds' best hitter, with runners in scoring position. He singled his first time up. Chris, you've seen it so often, and good pitchers watch for it. Some batters will be in the batter's box. They'll take a swing or take a pitch, and you get an idea that they don't have a clue what they're doing up there. Joey steps out, and it's like he's thinking, okay, he threw me this, I'm thinking of this, and his mind's always working.
You know, you can make him look so bad on one pitch, and he can come right back and hit one of your best pitches and rifle it off the left field wall. And I think he'll just get smarter and better as the years of experience begin to pour in on him, where he really learns the league, and he learns the pitchers, and he learns how certain teams like to pitch you. For instance, when the Cardinals were in town, they really liked to pitch Joey Votto down and inside. Every one of their right-handed pitchers, when they missed off the plate for a ball, Joey Votto was trying to get his knees out of the way. I mean, they never missed away. They never missed up. They were always pounding him down and in, down and in. That one spot that, you know, when he does hit it hard, he couldn't keep it fair.
Part of the Dave Duncan philosophy. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Towards the hole, Vasquez will backhand it and take care of it. So the Reds get a 1-out double, nothing to show for it. Pirates still lead it 2-0. Those are the ones you build a rotation around. 5 consecutive seasons with 200 or more innings pitched. Answer coming up for you. Back to work is Justin Lear as we head to the top of inning number 4. Lastings Millage will lead it off, followed by Brandon Moss and Delwyn Young. And we're happy to visit with our very special guest for tonight. Great to see him down on the field. Keegan, great to have you with us. I know that you were excited to be down the field with Ryan Hannigan and Joey Votto today. Had some fun, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was the best part of it?
Pitching to Hannigan and passing with Votto.
Nice, very nice. Did they take you into the clubhouse too?
Yes.
I bet you. What do you think? You think they gave him candy, Chris?
I don't know. Is there a spot to get candy down there?
Yeah.
Candy or ice cream? What's number 1?
Candy.
Candy. Ice cream's a close second. When you get.
Now you're out on the field in batting practice too. I bet that was some kind of fun.
That was fun.
You know, we were impressed by your style out by the cage. You see Adam, you were there with Adam. Adam's a good guy, isn't he? That's Adam Stowe helping Keegan. And Keegan don't need no help. He's wearing Joey Votto's number, and he's got a good opportunity to haul that in. Here's a fly ball to left. It's going back. It's going to be gone. Lastings Millage is 2 for 2, a homer into the left field seats. So Millage gets his 4th home run, and the Pirates take a 3-0 lead on Justin Lear.
He is a dedicated high ball hitter, Lastings Millage is, and it's for the 2nd time tonight he's got a pitch up in the zone, up above the waist. You see Craig Tatum saying, all right, keep it down, Justin. And he got that ball up around the letters, and wow, he's got some kind of power, and he lined it right on out of here.
Can you swing the bat like that, Keegan?
No.
How about your brother, Parker, in the back here? He looks like he can swing the bat pretty good.
Nope.
There's a fly ball to center.
Scout. I'm glad you never saw me pitch, Keegan. I'd hate to hear what you had to say.
What was the most fun about being out on the field? What'd you dream about when you finally get out there and you see the grass and you see the baseballs? Pretty neat, huh?
Yeah.
What'd you enjoy the most?
Passing with Votto.
And how about Ryan Hannigan? Did you strike him out?
Yeah.
That's good. I know when you look at Ryan Hannigan and Joey Votto, those are your favorite players. What do you like most about them? Why do you like them?
I don't know. I just like them.
They play the game the right way.
Now, do you watch them on TV when you get home?
Yes.
Joey Votto's having a pretty good year, isn't he?
Yeah.
He hits a lot of doubles.
Yeah. A lot.
Did you give him any pointers? Give them any suggestions of what they should do?
No.
How about your brother?
Nope.
No, neither one, huh?
Nope.
I like your uniform. You look pretty sharp.
Thanks.
What happened when you went in the clubhouse, other than getting candy? What happened when you were inside?
I met all the players, and Homer Bailey pitched to me, and I hit.
Homer's a big guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pretty tall. That's a good bunch of guys in there. There's a bouncer. Phillips got it. Throw in time. Great play, Brandon Phillips. He's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now that's what I call a Gold Glove caliber play, Chris.
Boy, you're not kidding about that. We've seen this so many times from Brandon Phillips that, for me, it never gets old because pitchers love good defense, and Brandon Phillips gives you about as good a glove work as you will find. Wow, what a play.
Keegan, I know that for you, when you were young, you've had a congenital heart disease, and you had 3 open heart surgeries before you were 2 years of age. That had to be tough for you. What do you remember most about your time in the hospital?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's good, huh?
What are you going to remember most about your time down here at the ballpark today?
Being in the clubhouse.
There's a lot of big guys in that club. You know, the Reds have a lot of players now. They brought a lot of players up in September. There are 37 players in that clubhouse. There are a lot of guys to meet. Did you remember everybody's name?
Yeah, pretty much.
I know the word is, and we got it ahead of time, Keegan. You're quite a fan. Not only do you know their names, but you also know some statistics and all sorts of stuff about these guys.
Okay, Joey Votto's one of your favorite players. What can you tell us about Joey Votto?
He's cool.
Why is he cool?
I don't know.
And how about his numbers, his statistics? You remember any about his statistics?
No.
No. You like when you step into the batter's box? Do you step in the same way he does? Do the same things that he does?
Yes.
You pattern yourself after him, huh?
Why don't you introduce us to this guy right here? Who's this guy?
My brother.
What's his name?
Parker.
Parker, how old are you?
6.
Did you get to go in the clubhouse?
Yes.
Did you bring some candy for me?
No.
Boy, these guys, George, I'm looking for a little candy around here. I can't get any.
They got the bag back there. You're not going to get your hands in it. Who's your favorite player, Parker?
Joey Votto.
Uh-huh.
Well, you guys are dressed out in the uniforms, that's for certain. You've got a number 19 on this. Whose number is that?
Votto's.
And who's number 10?
I don't know.
That'd be Ryan Hannigan, right?
Sure.
Isn't that Ryan Hannigan?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Parker and Keegan, thanks for joining us up here.
Hey, guys, enjoy the candy. Have fun. And we look forward to maybe someday seeing you playing for the Reds. Best of luck, Keegan. Time for our Aflac Trivia answer for today. Who are the only 4 active pitchers with 5 consecutive seasons with 200 or more innings pitched? I guess, Chris, we got one of them right here, Bronson Arroyo, and I don't think there's any doubt that you would have had Aaron Harang back on that list again had it not been for the kind of year that he had. But Mark Burley, Dan Herron, and Javier Vasquez, those are the kind of guys you build a rotation.
Absolutely right, because you need innings, and not just innings. I'm never one of those believers say, well, this guy just gives me innings. I want quality innings, and that's what all those 4 pitchers give you right there. Top of the rotation type pitchers.
Brandon bounces out to Vasquez. He's retired. He struck out his first time up, so he's 0 for 2. And here comes Scott Rowland, who bounced to short first time up. Now, the Reds have been on a mission of late. Cincinnati in the standings has had its best month of the season this month of September, and the Reds coming in are 76 and 83. They no longer, of course, have a chance to finish at 500 with 83 losses. But they start today 15 games back of the Cardinals in the Central. That's now only 1 game back of Milwaukee. So they have it a chance to finish third behind the Cubs. The Pirates' one goal certainly this final week is not to lose 3 and end up with 100 losses for the Bucco franchise. Toyota rolling. Here's ball 4. So the Reds have a fourth base runner of the night. 2 hits, a single by Votto, a double by Stubbs, and 2 walks. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot up to $105 million in the Ohio lottery. So still time to catch a big ticket and catch a big prize in the Ohio lottery. Your Mega Millions jackpot, $105 million. Here's Jay Bruce. He picked up the first free pass from McCutchen. That was with 1 out in the second. And back to what you were talking about, Joey Votto, and you mentioned the Cardinals coming to town, and a conversation that I had with Hal McRae, the Cardinals hitting instructor, and I said, what do you think of the 2 young Reds hitters, meaning Votto and Bruce? And he said, well, I think Joey Votto's learned his strike zone. Jay Bruce is still working on it. And therein lies, I mean, it's a great indication of the way opposing people look at Jay Bruce. Joey Votto's a little bit ahead in his development of strike zone knowledge, and with that comes, of course, the results that you've seen from Joey.
I think that's a good observation. I also think that, you know, these guys are different hitters as well. The ball jumps off the bat of Jay Bruce much harder than it does off Joey Votto. Votto's a guy with better plate coverage. He doesn't swing at as many bad pitches. He doesn't strike out as much, but he's older. And he's had more minor league at bats than Jay Bruce, and he's just, that experience shows you right now. But I think Jay Bruce, having come back off this wrist injury that he had, has come back and played extremely well, much better than my expectations. Figuring that I thought he'd be a little behind things when he came back after missing so much time.
You hoped he'd come back and end on a high note, and boy, he sure has. It's made him feel a lot better about himself and given him something to branch off from as he goes to winter ball and gets ready for the 2010 season. Two balls, 2 strikes. Last 9 games, 375, 4 homers, 12 knocked in for Jay. And guess what? Dial it up again. There goes a fly ball to the warning track. It's hauled in by Moss, 1 step from the wall.
I'll tell you, I thought that ball was hit better than it was, George. I think you did too. He may have gotten that out on the end of the bat just a little bit, but it goes to show you the power that Jay Bruce has. Even when he mishits it, he sends the right fielder all the way to the wall. A breaking ball way up in the zone. That's dangerous for Daniel McCutchen. But fortunately for him, he's got Brandon Moss to make the play up against the right field fence.
Long run for Moss, and he hauls it in 1 step from the wall. And you're right, Chris, looked like he got it right off the end of the bat. You can see on the replay where it made contact. So the bid for home run number 23 for Jay falls short, and here comes Ballantine. 2 outs, a runner still down at first. Vladimir flied out to right first time up. Cardinals in Milwaukee are underway in St. Louis, scoreless in the first inning. Mets in Houston 1-1 in the 5th. Florida leads Philadelphia 4-2 in the 5th, and Washington leads Atlanta 4-2. Out on the West Coast, San Francisco at San Diego, that's still to come. And then there's the Colorado Dodger matchup. All along, everybody was thinking, well, the Rockies are in pretty good shape in the wild card, and guess what? They've got a chance to win the division. Wouldn't that be something? For Jim Tracy, who's the odds-on favorite to be manager of the year in the National League. Boy, they're finishing strong till the end. A 3-game series in LA. Your Honda standings update. Ubaldo Jimenez against Randy Wolf. That's your pitching matchup for tonight at Dodger Stadium.
George, I got to ask you a question about the postseason because you're my answer man. What is this about the New York Yankees having the option of deciding when they will start the postseason? Don't they have an hour after their last game to decide what they're going to do? Explain that to me.
It's the team with the best record. It depends on what, I mean, whether you want 2 days off or 1 day off, whether you want basically how you want to run your rotation. And it depends on obviously who you're going to face. For the Yankees, it looks like they'll avoid the Anaheim Angels, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which is good for them because they've never played well against them. The only question will be who they want to face. Now, they've got some serious questions with their rotation, especially with Jobber Chamberlain as they head into the final week of the season. More to talk about when we return. Valentine strikes out. The Reds strand another runner. They still trail at 3-0. AT Rapid Rewind. Bucco's out on top early. 3 runs, 4 hits for Pittsburgh. No runs, 2 hits for the Reds. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Great to have you with us back here at Great American Ballpark. George Grant, Chris Welch, and we're very pleased to visit with Mark Frost, who's come out with a great new book. We've been talking about it tonight, about Game 6 of the 1975 World Series. Chris and I are disappointed. It's a great book, except, Chris, show them the book again. There's no pictures. We all they either have to be classic comics or
He's really
books.
talking about me, Mark.
We'll get to the one with the crayons. I guess.
That's our speed. That's
like
our speed. And I mean, it's for Reds fans and for baseball fans of any generation. Game 6 of the '75 World Series was a time capsule of the greatness of this game, wasn't it?
I think it's the gold standard by which you judge almost every other great baseball game. I mean, happening when it did. 6th game of a classic World Series, 4 hours back and forth between 2 great teams on that October night at Fenway. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a game quite like it.
Those that played in it certainly believe that. Those that saw it, and in this day and age, there's so many people that say they were at Fenway Park that night, but
by my count, it was about 65,000 from the people I've talked
I think
to.
then they only had about 38,000 you could get in there, right?
Exactly right. Well, I watched the game on a little 12-inch black and white television. I was in Minneapolis with rabbit ears, for goodness sakes. You know, it was it kept me riveted to my seat for 4 hours. I'd never seen anything like it.
And I always argue with people that say we have to speed the game up, and Chris and I talk a lot about it. That game could have gone 8 hours and we still would have enjoyed it. It's not a question of speeding the game up for minutes. It's a question of the intensity of what you see. That game you watched and you were on the edge of your seat all night long.
Well, it had the greatest drama that I've ever seen. The ebbs and flows within a single game. It had 9 Hall of Famers taking part on one side of the field or the other, or up in the booth or in the owner's box. You just don't get numbers like that anymore.
You're originally from Los Angeles. Why did you get involved and enamored with this game?
Well, I had been a big Dodgers fan. I had watched the Big Red Machine roll into L.A. every year. That had been a great rivalry during those early 70s years. I'd also gone to college in Pittsburgh during those years when the Reds and the Pirates had a tremendous rivalry. So I respected that team. I feared that team. I'd never seen anything like it. And along comes this kind of scruffy underdog Red Sox team that nobody had given much of a chance to. And suddenly it turns into Frazier Ali.
Yeah, it was. There's a pop-up into short center. Here comes Stubbs. He's got it for the second out. Third out, rather. We'll continue to visit with our guest talking about the 1975 World Series Game 6 after these messages. Day at the ballpark. There'll be drawings for fan prizes throughout the game. Win zoo tickets, free Chipotle burritos, La Rosa's Pizza, gift certificates for Montgomery Inn, Carpet Land, Frisch's, and much, much more. For tickets, call 381-REDS or go to reds.com. We continue to visit with Mark Frost, the man who's penned the book Game 6 from the 1975 World Series. This is not Game 6. This is Game 7 and the final out, a day and a moment that Reds fans will remember forever. And the great line that Chris and I were joking about it before, there's a bouncer to the right side, Pudge Fish, saying that, yeah, the Red Sox won the series 3-4, and fans in Boston still believe that.
And, you know, I think Johnny Bench also claims that he was the first one to come up with that line, so there's a little rivalry there, too. Well, you know,
I think he did.
I think he
give
did,
him credit. I think he did.
That's the one he quoted to me. The Red Sox dynasty lasted approximately 22 hours until Game 7 the next night. Another equally great game, and the Reds did take it. And you know, that's one of the greatest teams that's ever been on a baseball field. And that was my realization as I spoke to all the guys. I actually got to sit and watch the game with Sparky and talk through all his decisions, pitch by pitch, what was going on in his mind. And you know how Sparky is. I thought he was going to get an ulcer all over again as we were watching it. Somehow the outcome was going to be different. But it's still a tremendous game, and it holds up to this day. And I had to write about it. That feeling that game gave me stayed with me for 30 years. And I wanted to put the readers in Fenway Park that night. I talked to 100 people who had something to do with that game on one aspect or another. And so when you read the book, I think you'll feel like you've gone into a time machine a little bit, and you can go back and relive what that felt like to be there that night.
You're going to do a book signing tomorrow?
Yes, at Joseph Beth at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe, with you and Marty Brenneman. We're going to have a little Q&A and talk about the book and and sign some books and get to meet some of the great fans here in Cincinnati.
What do you take from all the interviews and everything that you went through? What's the one gem that you will remember forever?
Well, I think that experience of sitting and watching the game with Sparky, that was unforgettable. I have to say Louis Tiant is a wonderful guy. That starting pitcher for the Red Sox that night, the story of how he brought his parents over from Cuba. I'm sure you know that story. They'd been separated for 15 years since the Iron Curtain had come down, and just weeks before, his parents had been allowed to come to the United States. And his father was there in the stands for Game 1 and saw his son pitch a shutout in the World Series. And it's such an emotional story. It's really the heart of the book, and obviously all the guys from the Reds, what it meant to them to win that championship after coming so close in 70 and 72 and going on to win again in 76. I mean, I think absolutely justifying their position as one of the great teams of all time.
Book is Game 6 from the 1975 World Series. We're visiting with Mark Frost. Pop up. And that was quick. Another 1, 2, 3 hitting. Mark, best of luck to you. Thanks for taking some time to stop by.
Thank you, Joe.
We look forward to reading the book and seeing you tomorrow.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take
it good. Okay.
Ohio Gym Day back with you. Final 3 games of the 2009 season. We look forward to the off season, and the off season always means a great event the Reds put on. It's Reds Fest coming up in early December. Again, it's at the Duke Energy Convention Center, December 4th and 5th, and we are proud this year. Fox Sports Ohio, the title presenter tonight, or for Reds Fest coming up. So Reds Fest presented by Fox Sports Ohio, and if you've never been to Reds Fest, folks, put it down on your calendar. The Reds do it up fine. There's tons of autographs, player sessions, interaction, great stuff for the fans. It is always fun, and we are very, very proud to be the presenting sponsor this year, George Grant.
JD, does this mean that you'll be front and center on the big stage and emceeing everything as usual?
Well, if they'll have me, I'll be there.
We could maybe get him dressed up as Mr. Red.
See, there you go, George. You don't want to blow it.
Yeah.
And, of course, remember that Reds Fest will benefit the Reds Community Fund, and it's tremendous. Everything that the guys, Charlie Frank and everybody does with that community fund is just unbelievable. I know, JD, you've been part of it all year. Chris and I have too. It's you know, one of the things that you're so proud of about this organization is not just what you do on the field, but it's what you do in the community, and the Reds have taken it to another level.
I don't think there's any question about that, George. What they do in the community is incredible. The way they fix up baseball fields and help youth in the community, disadvantaged youth, either economic or physically disadvantaged youth. play baseball and get out there and compete and do the things that they dream about doing. And the community fund is an avenue that has allowed hundreds and thousands of kids to be able to do things that they would not have been able to do. But that Reds Fest has gotten bigger and bigger every year. I mean, it is a major extravaganza. It might be the highlight of the pre-Christmas season, especially if you're a baseball fan. If you haven't been down to Reds Fest before, wow, you are really missing it.
Hey, JD, you still there?
I'm right here, Georgie.
Maybe you can do a winter version of So You Think You're a Reds Fan. Now that would be the place to do it.
Actually, it has been pondered, because they need filler material, between acts on stage. So I don't know.
Do we have any keychains left?
I think we're out of the keychains. They're such a popular item, but maybe we could work on some, I don't know, pencils or something.
Chris, I'm a little worried. JD's over in that front gate outdoor luxury suite. There's nobody else there, and just keep your eye on how many umbrellas and chairs there are there, because
he needs a couple for his patio.
Look at the look he's got.
It is pretty comfy up. You know what, George? What the heck? Take a load off.
He's sizing it all up, isn't he? That's what you deserve. That's what you deserve.
Well, some gigs are better than others.
That guy knows how to relax.
I might fall asleep out here. You got a blanket?
Christian, you got a tape of that? We'll send that up to the bosses. Thanks, JD.
You got it, boys.
Hopefully you're
getting ready for the post-game show.
Yeah, I can tell you're doing your warm-ups now.
Yes, sir.
You deserve your own throne.
One of a kind right there.
There's Ryan Doman with one out in the 5th inning. Great to have you with us. JD and Jeff Pecoro will be by with Reds Live post game. There's one on the outside corner, a strikeout, 2 away, and Justin Lear trying to put together his first 1-2-3 inning of the night.
He's not having all that bad of a night, except for a couple of pitches that he got up. He walked the pitcher to start off an inning and ended up giving up a couple of hard hits in the 3rd. The home run by McCutchen, but he's made some good pitches like that backdoor breaking ball to Ryan Doman. Millage has been one of the culprits tonight. If you just keep the ball down around against him, you've got a lot better chance of getting him out.
This guy's giving him all kinds of trouble. Lastings Millage is single to center first time up, and then he ripped his 4th homer of the year to give the Buccos a 3-0 lead in the 4th. We talk about an opportunity, and that's exactly what you have to say this is for Lastings Millage. He came up as the brightest prospect in the Mets organization coming to the major league level. Traded then to Washington and now traded to Pittsburgh. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 stops and it finally clicks in. Sometimes it never does. But this will be a critical next year or so for Lastings Millage.
Well, he's hitting up around 290. He's got his batting average up to 288 right now. Not a lot of power in the swing of Lastings Millage, but speed is normally his game. 7 stolen bases, but he needs to find a way to get on. He's one of those guys that will probably show up down in spring training in Bradenton, and we'll find that he's got some competition. They've got a lot of question marks in Pittsburgh, but they've got some young players that are coming along in the pipeline that they hope to mature in the next couple of years. In the meantime, you'll see Millage and Moss getting a lot of playing time.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Lastings. Down and away, and we'll go full 3-2. Slice to right. Jay Bruce right there. He'll put it in his pocket. That's a 1-2-3 inning, something that Justin Lear's been looking for all night long. The Reds trail by 3 as we head to the bottom of 5. Two left on base. The Reds, no runs, only 2 hits and 4 left on. They've also had 2 walks, and therein lies the 4 left on base for Cincinnati as we go to the bottom of inning number 6. And Paul Janisch will lead it off, followed by Votto and Phillips. The Reds got a 2-out single by Joey Votto in the first, a 1-out walk to Jay Bruce in the second, a 1-out double by Drew Stubbs in the third, and a 1-out walk to Scott Rowland in the fourth. None of those base runners turned into runs for Cincinnati, and here we go to the 6th.
You know, Daniel McCutchen, when you look at his stuff, it's not overpowering. By the radar gun here at the ballpark, his fastball is anywhere from 81 to 92 miles an hour, but the Reds don't seem to be taking a lot of good swings at him. And that's the kind of thing that scouts notice. It either comes out of his hand in a very deceptive way. His best pitch is a breaking ball. He's tightened up his curveball a little bit to make it more of a kind of a slurvy slider type curveball, a real hard curve. But that's usually his go-to pitch against righties and lefties. But tonight the fastball has been very good for him. Like in this at bat against Paul Janisch, 2 of them straight fouled back.
And he gives you that quick arm action that is, it looks like you can be lulled to sleep by the first part of his motion, then zip, here comes the delivery. Foul back by Janisch. 1 ball, 2 strikes. You talk to hitters and ask them about Aaron Harang, and you look at Harang and the radar gun will show 91, 92, but hitters will say it feels like 94, 95.
Yeah, and it's all about changing speeds too. I mean, if you get those hitters velocitized, you get them looking at one speed, then they come up with another one like he did right there. Pulled the string on a changeup his previous pitch, and that one was a curveball down the low 80s. Now he can raise up the speed meter again up around 90 miles an hour, maybe try to sneak one by him. That's what Bronson Arroyo has done so well in the last couple of months. He's just been able to change speeds and hit his spots. Makes it look so very easy.
Hop down the third base line. Chris, you and I weren't on during the Cardinals series. What do you make of the brouhaha between the Cardinals and the Reds over the pine tar and Bronson Arroyo's hat?
Well, you know, I came to that ball game. I was sitting in the stands watching that game because I like watching the Cardinals play, and I wanted to see what the Reds would do with them that night. And the Reds, of course, played pretty good. I also wanted to see Arroyo pitch his last game of the year. I saw John Smoltz not really being John Smoltz that night. No. And I know that he was very frustrated. I know he was frustrated with the baseballs. He kept throwing them out, and I had a feeling that it was he didn't like the way that they were rubbed up or they didn't feel. But when it gets cool, the balls don't feel the same. And Smoltz has been in enough postseason, and he knows that. But the Reds nickeled and dimed him to death that night.
It'll get past Moss. Rounding first, going to second will be Janisch. He'll steam in with a 2-base hit. Paul Janisch picks up his 21st double of the season, and the Reds have a runner in scoring position.
That's a really good at bat for Paul Janisch because he battled and battled. He really didn't have a couple of good swings early in the count, and then he got a ball in the outer part of the plate, and he went right with it. But getting back to Smoltz, you know, the Reds had a couple of blue pits. One of the doubles that Joey Votto hit was a bleeder right over the third baseman's head. There was another bleeder into right field. And they kind of nickeled and dined him for a while, and he got very frustrated with that. He was angry that Drew Stubbs stole a base when the Reds were up by 6 runs, and it seemed like it was falling apart for Smoltz. And I think that it was all about gamesmanship for the Cardinals to say, and we'll take a look at Smoltz throwing a couple of balls out. He's obviously upset at this point. And I think it's gamesmanship on the part of Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa. That's all. I don't really believe that deep inside they really feel that Bronson Arroyo was loading the ball up. If they did, they would have asked the home plate umpire to check them.
Not only that, I mean, look at the other 6 pitchers that pitched on the day. No one else had trouble throwing strikes.
You know what? Sometimes Gaylord Perry would come out and go to his mouth on the first pitch of the game and never go back to it again. So for the rest of the game, everybody's looking for him to cheat again.
That's right.
And they were so taken out of their own game because he was beating them in the mind game. And I think that's that the Cardinals let Arroyo beat them, even though they're the ones that fabricated the whole story. I don't believe that Bronson Arroyo was putting anything on his fingertips.
I think the best line for Bronson was, in talking to him, he said, you know, I felt like using a new hat every inning and send it over. Let them check it after every inning. 2 balls, 1 strike. Joey Votto, left field towards the corner. Long run, Millage. He got it. He holds on. Going back to second will be Janisch. Robin Votto of what would have been his 38th double of the season. Lastings Millage did that once to Votto in Pittsburgh last week. He does it again here.
Well, that is a superlative play for the Pirate left fielder here. He gets a good jump on it. Now, remember, coming off the bat of a left-hander, it's going to continue to slice away. Man, oh, man, that's a good grab.
Well, the one thing the Pirates have concentrated on, and the youngsters they've brought up and the trades they've made, is to try to bolster their outfield speed for their ballpark, PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And they've sure done that with McCutchen and Lastings Millage. So 1 out, runner still at second, and here's Brandon. Struck out, bounced out 0 for 2. Now the other part, you were talking earlier about Justin Lear being tired after all the innings pitched and all the starts during the course of this year, meaning the winter and spring and the season. And he can't get that full extension. And when I looked at John Smoltz delivering, he didn't get that extra extension that always gave him that movement at the end, or that little bit of bump to his velocity that he had during his heyday. Yeah,
that's a good observation. He looks like a guy coming back off of arm injury. Some guys really show it. Right now, John does. And I think that he's got a little bit left in the tank. What is he, 40 or 41 years old? But still, that's an incredible athlete. But just not quite the ball coming out of his hand like it used to. And he may be better off in the bullpen, and that might be where they end up using him in the long run anyway. I really had the feeling that when they did bring him on board, that was their end plan when all was said and done, build up a little arm strength and then use him to make their bullpen much more complete. And we saw it even before he came to the National League. I mean, his velocity for the first 2 or 3 innings was measurably higher than in the last 4th and 5th inning, sometimes the 6th when he was in Boston. So if he knows he's going to have to go an inning or 2 at the most, his velocity will be better, and maybe that'll be a place where he could help the Cardinals in the postseason. And he actually pitched better than his numbers showed that night. The grand slam by Lance Nix was on an 0-2 pitch, a curveball that he threw 3 curveballs in a row, threw 2 real good ones. Nix went to school on each of those, and he finally hung one, and that's when Lance got it out of here. Swing and a miss by Brandon. He's retired. As your second out of the inning, the runner's still sitting out at second base for the Reds. Welcome back to the Coors Light 6th inning. Now it's time for the Coors Light freeze cam. It is here in the 6th. A great catch by Lastings Millage in left, heading towards the line, and boy, that meant a run. The Reds would have had a run. They would have had another runner at second and nobody out. Instead, that runner still sitting at second, and there are 2 outs. Coors Light freeze cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
Defense can sure make a difference, and in this inning it has for the Buccos. Here's Rowland, bounced out and walked in his 2 plate appearances. You had the feeling too that Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan were doing more to bolster their pitcher John Smoltz than anything else when all this started to unfold. To be honest, I was a little surprised that it escalated to the extent it did. But then again, where are you? You're the last week of the season, and how do you circle the wagons to make it us against the world going to the postseason?
Yeah, no, nobody does it better than Tony.
Yep. Well, the Reds, great opportunity, but they're 0 for 3 with a runner at second in the inning, and they still trail 3-0. Summary, the story for the Buccos is a 3-0 lead. It began with Andrew McCutcheon's double and then a single by Andy LaRoche that plates 2. But the perfect throw to second will nail LaRoche, trying to stretch the single into a double, but the Buccos had a 2-0 lead. Meanwhile, at the other end, here's Lastings Millage. He had a single in the second, and this homer to lead off the 4th. That made it 3-0 for Millage, his 4th home run of the season. It's been a night where we've had some defense too. How about this from the Gold Glover, Brandon Phillips to his right, and a perfect throw. And how about Joey Votto trying for his 38th double? Millage, who had the homer earlier, comes up with a brilliant catch down the left field line to save a run. So you add it all up, it's 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors, 2 left for Pittsburgh. No runs, 3 hits, no errors, 5 left for the Reds. Justin Lear's night is done. 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 3 walks. He threw 108 pitches. And as we go to the 7th inning, here's the new pitcher for the Reds, Pedro Viola.
Well, Pedro made his major league debut this year for the Reds earlier when they called him up. He was down in Louisville. He was in 54 ball games with Louisville. It had some pretty impressive numbers. 57 strikeouts in 49 innings pitched. Hard throwing left-hander with a little bit of a funky motion. Ball really gets on you quickly.
Delwyn Young, another one of those transplants, came over from the Dodgers. Started off as a second baseman. They moved him to the outfield in Los Angeles, and here they moved him back to the infield, putting him under the tutelage of Perry Hill to try to get the most that they can out of him at second base. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Hop back and out of play. Great to have you with us. George Grant, Chris Welsh up in the booth, coming by. JD, Jim Day, and Jeff Pecor with Reds Live postgame coming your way. We'll wrap up tonight's encounter. That's up and in. Our producer, Christian Roberts. Great to have Carl Patterson back with us down in the truck for this final weekend series. Associate producers Lauren White, Lucas Leidy, Matt Sigafus doing the honors for Reds Live pregame. And we wish Matt a successful and enjoyable hockey season. This is his last baseball game of the year. He's going to be heading off to do Blue Jackets hockey. Another tremendous year from Ziggy. Gave us everything you could ever ask for and more, from a highlight standpoint and a picture of every night of Reds baseball. That's a call, strike 3, 2 away. Good luck, Ziggy, and thanks for all your great work this year. Tonight's cabin would stand legendary performance. Let's go back to the 1st of October 1967. Roberto Clemente, as a player manager, hits his 23rd homer, had a triple, drove in 3 runs. That's the way to do it. Pittsburgh beat Houston 10-3. Number 21, Roberto Arriba. Always can still hear the words of Bob Prince, great broadcaster for the Buccos. Unfortunately, his career cut short when he was killed taking supplies to earthquake victims and his plane crashed. What a tremendous leader of men and a great human being. That's still number 21. You walk around downtown Pittsburgh, more than anything you see number 21 on Pirate jersey still.
Yeah, you really do.
Swing and a miss. Vasquez retired. Back-to-back 1-2-3 innings for the Reds. Now it's time for the 7th inning stretch, presented by Cincinnati Bell. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by your local Ford dealer and the Ford F-150, 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by McDonald's of Greater Cincinnati. Reds back to work with Jay Bruce. Valentine and Tatum due up. Reds' opportunities have been few and far between. A single from Votto in the first, a walk to Bruce in the second, a one-out double to Stubbs, and the Reds had 2 ground ball outs in the third to end that threat. A walk to Rowland in the fourth with 1 out, and then the leadoff double by Giannis in the sixth, but the Reds couldn't even get him to third. So get him on, get him over, get him in. Hasn't worked tonight for the Reds. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fouled off but held on to by Domet. That's a strikeout of Jay. So he's 0 for 2 and a walk. And here comes Valentine, who's 0 for 2. And don't forget, enjoy one of Cincinnati's local favorites at the ballpark, Penn Station East Coast Subs. Behind Penn Station, located near the Reds fan zone on the first base concourse, and behind section 514 on the view level. Enjoy their signature Philly cheesesteak subs and authentic fresh cut fries. Get tickets for the Reds now at 381 Reds, or go to Reds.com to enjoy Penn Station East Coast Subs at the ballpark.
Pretty impressive night so far for Daniel McCutchen. You know, last game he pitched was against the Dodgers. That was the first time in all of his 5 major league starts where he had not given up a homer.
Oh, baby, that's a homer and a half.
Wow.
Upper deck bomb halfway up in the upper deck and left. Wow. That was a seat denter if there ever was one. Ballantyne's bomb, his 3rd of the year, reverberates around his ballpark. I mean, all you had to do was listen and you knew this one was long gone.
Yeah, that's the kind of ball that you see hit in batting practice, because guys in their last round will really try to hit it as far as they can, and he's got tremendous power. But to hit that in a ball game, that ball was fairly down in the zone too, just a little bit above his knees, and little did that man know that he was sitting up there in the second deck of the bleachers, and he would get a home run ball tonight.
Here it is.
Wow.
That's a Willie Mopena shot right there, isn't it? Wow. Well, that'll be it for McCutchen. That was it for Ballantyne, his 3rd homer. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Way up on the top row, comes down and gets the carom. I think 1/2 of that ball is flat.
Man, oh man. That ball, that's one of the longer home runs we've seen all year long.
Man, a bomb from Ballantyne. And the Reds are on the board 3-1. That'll chase McCutchen from the game. He goes 6 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 96 pitches. And here's Jesse Chavez, who comes in to pitch. Chavez, coming in for his 73rd time this season, will face Lance Nix, who's on to pinch hit. Boy, on a quiet night, that was a sound to remember. Man,
that was like somebody stacking timber.
Woo. The old lumber company of the Pirates got a curtain call from a Reds right-hand batter.
Hey, you may see another long one right here. Lance Nix on a 3-1 count may get a fastball from Jesse Chavez, and he can hit a heater.
Dusty Baker, his team trailing 3-0. He gets the home run, and then he sends Nix, the big left-handed bat, off the bench. And Juan Francisco has moved into the on-deck circle with the pitcher's spot due up next. And here's ball 4. So Nix, the pinch hitter, walks, and here comes Juan Francisco. He's shown us, Chris, we saw him in spring training and said this kid's got a chance, and after the numbers he put up during the year, he reaffirmed that, and what we've seen since he's come back up, he's got a legitimate chance.
Yes, he does. He's got a good swing. He stays back nicely. I think he's just got the talent, George, the hand-eye coordination that, he's nowhere close to being able to learn a strike zone yet. I mean, you talk about Jay Bruce and the time it's taken him to kind of come along. I think you're seeing the very early stages of a very, very good young hitter in Juan Francisco. Tremendous power, but he's got that ability to recognize pitches, stay inside the ball almost naturally. And just a nice sweeping swing. He's got a tremendously powerful swing, but it doesn't look like one that he's all herky-jerky with, that he moves his head when he takes a cut. And a very dangerous hitter in this situation for the Pirates.
One swing, we could have a brand new ball game here. Francisco, 19 at bats and 8 hits. 1 homer and 6 knocked in.
I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Prince Fielder, but he reminds me at the plate. And even when you see him follow through after a swing like that last one, he reminds me of Prince Fielder. A lot of times hitters will fall into categories of players that you see that you remind them of.
One ball, 1 strike. We've talked a lot about it. He'll head down to the instructional league when the season is over and work out in the outfield and left field. And in all probability, unless something out of the ordinary happens, he would probably start the year next year at AAA. Give him a chance to get a full AAA season under his belt, and as needed, might be called up during the course of next year. I mean, that's the probability, not necessarily cast in stone.
It's nice to have players of his quality in the channel.
2 balls, 1 strike. Lash to left, Millage there, got it, almost took the glove off his hand.
Man, was that ball smoked.
I mean, watch the ball hit the glove and it jolts back. Second out on a line drive bullet off the bat of Francisco.
Just a nice easy swing by Francisco, but kind of an inside out swing and a linea to left.
Your highlight memories come back. The 2 away on a hard hit ball. And here comes Drew Stubbs back at the top of the order. Stubbs flied out, doubled, and popped up.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting quality meal for your family, pick up a bag of JTM beef or chicken Philly cheesesteaks from your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, and fun.
One ball and 1 strike to the Red center fielder. Little giddy up on that one at 94 miles an hour. Well, the plot gets thicker. Minnesota leads Kansas City 7-0 in the 4th inning. And the White Sox lead Detroit 8-0 in the 8th inning. Could be a 1-game difference after tonight in the Central of the American League.
How many packs a day is Jimmy Leland going through?
I think he's finished packs. Now he's finished his fingernails down to about his knuckles. Man, oh man. Some drama in the American League Central. That's a call, strike 3. The homer by Ballantine, and boy is it a big one. 467 feet. The Reds are on the board but still trail 3-1. That dream at Reds Fantasy Camp. Don't miss out on the inaugural year in Goodyear, Arizona, the brand new state-of-the-art baseball complex, January 30th through February 6, 2010. For more information, visit reds.com/fantasycamp. A little bit of a chilly night, temperature in the 50s. Was at 62 at the game time start, down into the 50s. Need a little bit of the sweater action. Corky Miller will come in for Tatum after Tatum was pinch hit for, so Tatum will be behind the plate. And the other part of the equation, Jared Burton will come in, his 51st appearance this year. Pretty good numbers for a guy that spent time on the disabled list, and he's ending it in a strong suit.
He's throwing the ball much, much better now. That he was sidetracked about 3/4 of the way through the season with a kind of an asthma-related ailment, which just sapped his strength. He'd walk up a set of stairs and would be completely out of breath. And it obviously affected his pitching. Reached back for some fastball and it was never there. But he's throwing the ball much better now. They've got some medication for him. And Jared Burton trying to show that he ought to be part of this bullpen next year. He'd love to have an inning like Pedro Viola did in the 7th. Viola overpowering in his one inning with a couple of strikeouts.
So Burton trying to keep it right where it is, and Robinson Diaz will pinch hit in the pitcher spot, the 9th spot in the order. Hit pretty good to right, going back Bruce at the warning track, will haul it in, 1 away. Hey, don't forget, big things brewing up north. Get ready for the Cavs seasons. On Fox Sports Ohio, Tuesday at 7, the Cavs battle the Bobcats in preseason hoop action. It'll be the first time Shaq and LeBron will hit the court together with a wine and gold. One for all for the Cavaliers during the Tiptober on Fox Sports Ohio. Boy, if that works, Chris, it will be big time in the big city of Cleveland. If LeBron gets the kind of hope that he should get from Shaquille O'Neal, if he gets the kind of presence night in and night out, and if Shaq can stay healthy, it could be a fun year for the Cavaliers.
Sure should be, or could be anyway. I wonder how they're doing in practice.
Practice.
We're talking about practice.
You're talking about practice?
Well, preseason games, almost the same, right?
That's a breaking ball in there for a strike. 1 and 2. That was one of, you talk about all the moments of the year. One of the fun moments was when Shaq showed up in St. Louis and Daniel Ray Herrera wanted to meet him. Watching Daniel Ray stand next to Shaq, that was worth the price of admission.
Oh, I love the conversation between the two.
Yep.
Shaq looked at him or looked down at him and said, "How tall are you?" And Daniel Ray looked at him and said, 5'6". Shaq said, "Well, you don't look that tall." There's a guy who's 7'1" or 7'2".
Great moment. Boy, he's been bigger than 7'1" or 7'2" for the Reds out of the bullpen.
I'll tell you, the whole bullpen has been tremendous this year. I mean, the Reds struggled offensively mainly because of all of their injuries. But had that bullpen fallen apart, it would have been really an ugly year. And as it turned out, that they were the mainstay of many of the victories. You get a good starting assignment from a pitcher, and that bullpen nearly every time would put zeros on the board.
And if you can get Jared Burton back where he was and where he's ending the season for next year, boy, you got another great arm out there to hang your hat on for 2010. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinals put a 5 spot on the board, lead Milwaukee 5-0. They're now in the 4th. Big game out in L.A. Jimenez against Wolf. Be starting in about 45 minutes. Colorado and Los Angeles, the battle for the West, and those two teams will decide who will be Western Division champion and who will be the wild card. Right field, back, Bruce looking up, reaching up. It will be off the wall. The throw coming into second. They got a shot at him, and he's going to be out. Andy LaRoche nailed it second for the second time. He singled in 2 runs in the 3rd. Valentine nailed him, and watch Jay Bruce do the same thing from right. One of the best arms in the league, and he shows you why. plays of the game. First of all, Brandon Phillips showing why he won the Rawlings Gold Glove last year with a brilliant play, robbing Delwyn Young. And how about Jay Bruce? Picks up his 11th assist of the season. That's 4th in the league. Hunter Pence leads the league with 15, another right fielder. But here's a perfect toss to second. Giannis slaps the tag on LaRoche, and for the second time tonight, LaRoche is nailed trying to stretch one into two.
I'll tell you, both of them outstanding plays. First Ballantine and then Jay Bruce. But I love that play by Bruce. I mean, he barehanded the ball coming off the wall, and he turned and really threw blind. You have to set himself up. He didn't have a chance to look where he was throwing the ball. He just kind of grabbed it, turned, and threw, and a perfect one-hopper right into the second baseman.
The right field assist total, Pence number 1, Bruce now with 11. Matt Kemp has 14, Niger Morgan 13, Elijah Dukes 12 in the National League overall. Here's Joel Hanrahan, who takes over as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Reds running out of outs. They trail it 3-1. Giannis, will it hang up there long enough for Millage? It will. Lasting's Millage hauls one in for the first out of the 8th inning. Giannis 1 for 4, a double in the 6th inning to lead off the 6th, but the Reds never even got him to third. Millage has come up with 2 fine defensive plays tonight, and against the Reds this year, he's come up with 3 or 4 fine defensive plays. One away, and here's Joey. Votto singled in the first, bounced to short in the third, and then it was his fly ball down the left field line after the double by Giannis when Millage made the best catch of the night for the Pirates. Going towards the line, he hauled it in, and that saved a run and prevented the Reds from what could have been a big inning. By the way, Chris, want to say thank you to Rita and Dick Butcher tonight. Pie night at the ballpark.
Oh, you're not kidding about that.
Rob Butcher's mom, and when she delivers her pumpkin pie and her apple pie, everybody around the ballpark's walking around with a smile.
Well, I know that I'm in line for a pie every time they show up, George, because I laid a fastball right out there down the middle for Dick Butcher to get a base hit off of me. And
there's method to your madness.
You know what? I said I'll take a pie a year for the rest of my life. How's that? Boy, that was delicious. Did you get a pumpkin or an apple?
I got pumpkin.
I got the apple.
Yeah, the apple's outstanding.
Oh,
they're both great.
Goodness.
What'd you have, Pick? That's an early birthday present for you? Was it tomorrow? You'll be 29. Happy birthday, buddy. We didn't put a candle in it. We should have put a little candle in it for him. Two away, and here's Brandon. Brandon 0 for 3. Chris, do you think the discussion is dead, long forgotten, of possibly moving Brandon back to shortstop for next year if the Reds don't find a shortstop?
I don't think it'll ever happen anymore. There was a window there where it may have made some sense when Brandon first came over. But back at that time, remember that Jerry Narron, the manager, said, you know, he didn't really think that Brandon would be as good a shortstop as he was a second baseman. And he may know what he was talking about. I mean, after all, Brandon has won a Gold Glove at second base, and he seems to be getting better every year at it.
Don't weaken yourself at 2 positions, right?
Yeah, I don't think that you would even consider it now.
I agree.
I mean, defensively, Paul Giannis is all that you can ever expect from any shortstop. I mean, you'd love to have a Derek Jeter, but there aren't that many of those going around. You look at the free agent list, and there aren't a whole lot of shortstops that are going to make you a lot better.
The only player that would make sense to me would be J.J. Hardy from Milwaukee, if he's healthy and he's back up at the end of the year after having back troubles and being sent down last month.
Yeah, but that's going to cost. I mean, he's a free agent.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about several $1 million at least when you have Paul Giannis already under your control.
Brandon Phillips strikes out. It's a 1-2-3. Reds have only 3 outs left. We go to the 9th. They trail. Browse the largest selection of authentic team gear, including clubhouse caps and t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and a whole lot more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop Reds.com now. And if you can't purchase it at Reds.com, be sure to stop by the ballpark right at the corner by Pete Rose Way, where Jesse Jackson will have his car parked there on Tuesdays throughout the offseason. The Reds.com shop. Best place to find the best Reds merchandise. Looking for the best segment of Reds baseball for 2009? Well, it is the bullpen, and that continues the march with Nick Massett coming in. 73rd appearance for Nick Massett, and no matter how you slice it, his season has been spectacular.
Well, you're no kidding about that. 73 appearances now. That leads the staff, and he's not allowed to run in his last 10 appearances. That's how strong he has been getting towards the end of the year.
Hopped up left side. Scott Rowland calling. He'll squeeze it one away in the first batter of the 9th inning.
You know, it's funny how things work out, because when Nick Massett was down at spring training vying for that 5th starting spot and didn't make it, you know, he kind of reluctantly went in the bullpen. He said, okay, you know, he wasn't sure really about where he would fit in that bullpen. And for a while there, he was a middle reliever. And then when David Weathers was traded, that opened up a spot in the 8th inning, and Nick Massett slid right in there. Now they're talking about Massett as a future closer. You know, maybe the soon future, maybe distant future, but this guy certainly has the stuff and maybe the mindset to be able to get it all done.
One away, and here's Andy LaRoche. Here's Ryan Domit, rather. Domit coming to the plate after Garrett Jones pops out. Domit lined out, flied out, and struck out. Oh, one away. Now, I talked to Nick the other day about his stamina. He said, you know, I feel so much stronger than I ever thought I would. And I asked him, I said, do you think going back to spring training, when you really geared up as a starter, helps you now in the month of September? Because, Chris, when you came through, I mean, closers and bullpenners never really, you know, now a closer will work an inning in spring training and do that all spring training. Back in those days, people would work 3 or 4 innings, build up more arm strength, so it carried them deeper into the season.
Yeah, you know, he keeps himself in good shape too. I think that's the other part of it. He realizes that there's a lot of money to be made at the back end for him, the back end of a bullpen, that is, and he wants to make sure that he keeps himself in shape, hones his game, and is able to do that. I mean, we've seen him in ball games, and tonight's a good example where he's just dominating.
2 away. Here's a strikeout. Domit turns and makes a left turn to the dugout. He locks him up with that. 2 away, and here comes Millage. Millage has had a night for himself, a single, a home run, and a fly ball out, plus 2 fine catches in the outfield.
I mean, just look what the Reds bullpen has done tonight when Dusty Baker went to Pedro Viola in the 7th inning. You know, he was dominating. Burton dominated the next inning. Great play by Jay Bruce to help him get out of it. Massett, same way.
Left field into the warning track is Ballantine. He'll haul it in. Last round up for the Reds, looking for runs. Massett, another El Perfecto inning. Now the Reds need some runs. Bank home equity loan subject to normal credit approval, equal housing lender, member FDIC. There it is, Fountain Square in downtown Cincinnati. One of the bright spots and beautiful spots of the Queen City. Hey, don't forget, don't you miss out on your chance to see the amazing Crosley Field exhibit and more at the Reds Hall of Fame for only $1.50. Tonight and tomorrow you can take advantage of the special offer. All you need is a game day ticket. Visit Reds.com/HOF to find out more about what's going on at the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. And we say it all the time, you know, the baseball season may be coming to an end, but the baseball year never ends at the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. If you have a chance during the off season, stop by. There are so many great moments and nooks and crannies of the Hall of Fame. I mean, I've been blessed over the last 30 years to go every year to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And outside of Cooperstown, it is by far the best Hall of Fame in the world. It's the best collection of baseball memorabilia. Now, we talked, Chris, today with Mark Frost, who wrote the book Game 6 from the '75 World Series. And I hope he had the chance. I mentioned to him, I said, before you go over to the Hall of Fame and walk around, because it is just a special treat if you're a Reds fan or a baseball fan to get a look at the history of Reds baseball, and not just Reds baseball, but the game of baseball. Doesn't get any better. You know, Mark really ought to drop some of his books over there at the Hall of Fame. I mean, I know that he's going to have them available in all the normal book outlets, but that'd be a perfect place to sell a lot of those books, because every Reds fan who watched that World Series and watched that game in particular is going to want to pick that book up. Here's Roland, 2 ground outs and a walk. And Chris, we have our first official sighting of the 2010 season. Usually the day after the season, here's a pop-up from Scott Rowland. Garrett Jones coming in. He's got it 1 away. Mark Wagner calls me and says X number of days until opening day. Well, we got it before. 185 days until opening day 2010. Is that all? That's not so much. Daddy Wags, you're always one step ahead of all of us. Roland pops out. Reds down to 2 outs. Here's Jay Bruce, who walked, flied out, and struck out. Well, let's hope the Bengals keep us interested during the winter, and the Muskies and the Bearcats and all the other local teams keep us equally as interested and take us right up into spring training. Matt Capps delivers. Bruce sends this to left. It's going to clank off the wall. Bruce rounds first, goes to second. He'll be in there with a 2-base hit. 15th double for Jay Bruce, and now the Reds can bring the tying run to the plate here in the 9th inning.
I'll tell you what, this guy's got a chance to be a very exciting player. That's not all that bad of a pitch. Yes, it's waist high on the outer part of the plate. Remember that Matt Capps throws his fastball in the mid-90s, and there's Jay Bruce to take it the other way on a line off the left field wall. That is special power.
So Jay's in scoring position. And here comes the big swinger of the night for the Reds. Vladimir Ballantyne clubbed a 467-foot homer his last time up to the upper deck in left. Ballantyne facing Capps for the second time. He's 0 for 1 against him. And just in case in the Reds bullpen, Coco Cordero up and loosening. Bill DeMatre up and loosening in the bullpen for the Buccos. Capps in his career, of all the teams in the National League, the Reds have been a pain in the neck for him. Matt in his career is 3-4 and an ERA of over 6.84 in 25 innings pitched. Capps has given up 41 hits and 7 home runs against the Cincinnati Reds. And you never know, on this full moon night in downtown Cincinnati, you never know what might unfold here at Great American Ballpark.
Well, Matt Capps has had somewhat of an off year for a guy that was so consistent his first couple of years growing into the closer's role for the Pirates. Trying to get back to basics, which is rearing back and letting it fly. That's a tough spot right there. It's a tough spot for a hitter to stay off that pitch because you see it well because it's coming in close to eye level. But when you throw it with the velocity that Matt Capps does, it's awfully tough to get on top of.
Power against power, and this one won by Capps, 2 away.
Well, there was a time during the middle of the season that Matt Capps was trying sinkers and sliders and all sorts of things to try to trick the hitter, and he realized that that wasn't him, that he's at his best when he rears back and just lets it rip. And he does on the last 2 pitches and throws both of them right by Vladimir Ballantyne.
All the changes that the Pirates have made, Chris, number 55 is still hanging in there, and you know, it has not had to have been an easy year for him to watch teammate after teammate leave in the last 3 and 4 years.
No, but it can't be very nice to know that when you start spring training, your chances of you having a winning record are very remote. And that's the way it's been. I mean, he had 3 years in a row there where his earned run average was under 4. Last year was right around 3. The year before that, he had 18 saves and a 2.2 earned run average. And now it ballooned this year for Matt Capps up close to 6. So yes, it was a very difficult year for a number of reasons.
Here's Kevin Barker to pinch hit, facing Capps with 2 outs here in the 9th and a runner sitting at second.
Ooh, boy, you throw another one down in that wheelhouse right there, and it may prolong a bad year. Barker's got the power to hit one out of here.
Yes, missed that one.
Man, that's where left-handers put him on a tee.
It looked as if Barker thought he might stay away, and it surprised him a little bit. Doman out to talk to Capps. Barker in his career against Pittsburgh, 316. 6 for 19. A base hit here could pull the Reds to within 1. Reds trying to rally in the 9th. They've trailed all night long, 3-0, now 3-1, and they've got the tying run at the plate. Talked a lot about those Reds that have been up and down all year and been a part of this Reds team. This guy at the plate has had an outstanding year in his own right. Named Louisville's MVP in 101 games, hit .285 and had 22 home runs, and was one of the mainstays of that team all year long, missing inside. In fact, he's going to go to winter ball too. He'll be playing for Rick Sweet in the Dominican as well.
I think there are about 7 or 8 players from the Reds organization that will be down there playing for Rick Sweet down in the Dominican Republic. In Santiago, he's got the big team down there.
As a pinch hitter, 7 for 22 with the Reds this year. That's a bouncer down to short. That'll take care of it, and the Pirates have assured themselves of one thing, and that is they will not have a 100-loss season. A win today guarantees them that the most number of games they could lose is 99. Caps gets the save here in the 9th as the Reds will lose it 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors.